the ruling establishment has a lot of, they will stop at nothing to complete their toolkit of control, right? So one of the things that has been missing from the toolkit of total control has been quarantines and curfews, right? So now, welcome to the new world in America, where to get on a bus, to go through a subway station, if you think that the procedures at the TSA are onerous, right? Guess this is coming to a bus depot near you. It's a more invasive way, and the ruling class needs this because, let me say, if the ruling class ever saw wide-scale civil unrest, you'd see an Ebola outbreak in America right away.
Okay, so this is, what you see is that Ebola is
another tool in the toolbox of the ruling class control. Yeah,
to keep down
absolutely,
repression.
Positively, 100%. This is a tool.
Right.
Ebola doesn't just magically start spreading. The point is to get hundreds of thousands of people infected with it and create the next phase of control. Now, one of the things I'd like to show to back up my my claims here. Here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller Foundation, right there. You can zoom in on that, where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right? Okay, let's take a look at what they're saying here. This is something like a 50, 60-page document. I'd like you to go to page 18, if you can look at this up on the internet, but I'll read it off to you. It's called lockstep, lockstep. And this is a phrase that I used right after 2001 when I saw the entire system of the United States, including the population, were in lockstep. So the Congress went along, and yes, it was Osama bin Laden, and the people waved their flag and said, I hate, 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 and everything was in lockstep. Well, in 2010, they published this, Rockefeller Foundation, and here's what they're saying. They're saying that they call it a scenario. These are scenario narratives, and they speak about it in the past tense. So they put out this scenario, lockstep. A world of tighter, top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Okay, I'll read a little bit of it. In 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years, nobody was anticipating a pandemic, finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain originating from wild geese, they use some scenario, but this is Ebola they're talking about.
Ahead.
Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months, the majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. You can see that agenda. Just naked, raw, naked control agenda written down, and it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life. So whether this is written specifically as marching orders or whether people take it upon themselves in the intelligence networks to say, okay, well, this has been produced, so this is the plan here. But these narratives have to be written in advance because the intelligence agencies don't know how to do these narratives. They need help. So these think tanks, they come up with these, like Rand Corporation, Rockefeller Foundation. These are think tanks of death. They're not the think tanks, they're not there to find great ways to help people. Right? Okay, the pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt. Right? Which is what they want. They want a completely isolated world, right? Debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Well, of course they want tourism stopped because they're not in the tourism business, and they want you at home in your house in front of the TV. Then they got you, because once you watch the TV, they own your soul. Even locally.
Wait a second, we're on television.
I mean commercial television, let's say. National. Even locally, normally bustling shops and offices sat empty for months. Okay, so I love how they talk about it in the past tense in 2010. Right? The pandemic blanketed the planet, though disproportionate numbers in Africa died. Southeast Asia and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire.
It sounds like the opening monologue of a disaster movie, right?
Exactly. Now listen to, here's the good stuff now. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. Now here's this one. I love this one. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging, in quotation marks, strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency. So they're saying, that...
No, keep going. Read it.
Proved deadly in its leniency. So they should have been tougher, right? Accelerating the spread of the virus, not just within the United States, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better. China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near hermetic sealing off of all borders, saved millions of lives, stopping the spread of virus far earlier than in other countries. So the message is here is we have to look towards the Chinese, the oppressive totalitarian Chinese regime as an example of what we need to be doing here. And of course, the ruling class here loves the Chinese regime because they have demonstrated to the ruling class the most efficient form of capitalism, which is authoritarian capitalism. So we have capitalism, but unfortunately we have this veil.
I get it.
We have this veil of democracy.
This is very interesting. This is continue on.
Okay. China's government was not the only one that took extreme measures to protect its citizens from risk and exposure. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their muscles, flexed their authority, and imposed airtight rules and restrictions. You can see the agenda.
Go.
Okay. From the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces.
It'll be at the subway?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? We'll be going through this in the subway, to get on buses and the subway?
Absolutely.
Things
positively.
like that?
And what this means, though, is, don't think about having a cigarette, a joint on you, or, basically, you can't. This is a dragnet for everything. So if in order for you
in other words, just like with stop and frisk, this is ultimate stop and frisk.
This is the ultimate cavity stop and frisk, cavity search kind of thing. All right, so during the pandemic, national leaders around the world flex their authority. Now there's some good stuff. Listen to this. And even supermarkets, they want body checks at supermarkets, okay? So basically what they're saying is they're building a system where every move you make, you got to go through them.
You can't get food. Well, how about if you go to the farmer's market?
Right. Here's the good stuff now. I mean, it just keeps getting better. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck. And even intensified. That's the whole point. So they're going to get rid of...
Didn't that happen already with 9/11?
Of course.
9/11 was how many, 14 years ago, and we still have all these draconian rules.
So they're going to put the body cavity
USA,
searches
Patriot, and all
That's right.
stuff.
So in order to get to a supermarket, you got to have a body cavity search, and then when there's no more Ebola, well, you know what? We kind of like this way because we have a complete infrastructure of a control grid. In order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemics and national terrorism to environmental crisis and rising poverty, leaders around the world took a firmer grip on power. Well, what the hell would rising poverty have anything to do with imposing strict citizen controls with face masks? So they're very sloppy stuff here. At first, the notion of a more controlled world gained wide acceptance and approval. I'm sorry. Nobody likes this stuff. They're just saying it. I have to provide analysis.
Only because we only have 5 minutes left, so that's.
Oh my God. Okay. Citizens willingly gave up some of their sovereignty and their privacy to more paternalistic states in exchange for greater safety and stability. I mean, that's just a complete naked contradiction to the famous saying that if you think you're going to give up a little bit of security, I mean, if you're going to give up your freedom for security, you're going to get neither. That's the long-standing thing. And here what they're doing is they're not even ashamed or embarrassed to absolutely say the exact opposite. They're saying, yes, we all want to give up our privacy and sovereignty for more stability and security and stability. So you don't get that. When you give it up like that, you get the shaft.
Can you show us the cover again of what you were just reading?
One more time, and then I have two more documents.
Right, this is what we were reading here, and just zoom in a little bit so folks can see it. He'll zoom in, don't worry, you can relax.
Right.
And scenarios for the future of technology and international development.
Okay, now I have two more documents. Keep it zoomed. We have the National Security Memorandum of December 10th, 1974. This is Henry Kissinger's brainchild. The National Security Memorandum number 200. You can look that up on your internet. I'll summarize it. He says that there's too many people, we got to get rid of the population. So to answer your question.
Oh, from earlier.
Yeah, he says, he used the word depopulation, which is different. Depopulation means killing people that already exist, and it's to get the minerals, because we need the minerals. And here's another one. The CDC has a patent on Ebola. They patented it. Yeah? Right. So basically, if you want to get a cure for your Ebola,
it says it right up here, right? It says human Ebola virus species and compositions and methods thereof, and it's a patent.
It's a patent. They patented the main strain plus something like 17 other strains of it. So they own it now, and I don't know how exactly you can own that, but apparently they've done the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't think you could own a natural.
Yeah, you can. I guess the main thing to finish off this show is this: that they want to get more control, more and it's going to be curfews and quarantines. So what I'm saying is that unless the American people start to get some new way to revolt, a new way to organize, new way to protest, unless we can break through the apathy, because that's what we have here, then it's going to be a slave state here. The ruling class doesn't seem to have too much resistance. They're getting everything on their Christmas shopping list, and they've been wanting quarantines and curfews for a long time. Now they got it. And if you want to live in a world where you're tricked into all this stuff because it's for your safety, right? And if you want to have a probe and make sure you got to check your pockets, make sure you don't have anything incriminating on you before you go out, and when you step out of your house, you want some police there to monitor and see what you're doing. If that's the world you want to live in, be apathetic, don't do anything. You're going to get that world very soon. It's coming your way, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what should people do? What's the hope? You have 30 seconds.
To wake up, learn about it, and go fight these bastards in Washington. They're easy to beat. If we can just organize, we can beat them. It's simple. They're weak, and there's so few of them.
Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. A contagious and highly deadly strain of flu. So the point is that a respiratory spread pathogen would kill more than 30 million people in less than a year. And there is a reasonable probability of that taking place in the years ahead. I think an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths.
I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history, the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
We have known about CAPS-like viruses in animals and people for decades, but have not been successful at developing a licensed vaccine. And sure, there are new technologies that may help, but it's going to be difficult. I am not optimistic about having a vaccine in time to be relevant during this pandemic.
So the policy crisis in question for this board in this meeting is this: how should governments, business, and international organizations allocate and distribute pandemic antivirals and medical supplies to the people who need them most?
What we've seen work very well in the HIV field is, in fact, procurement through the Global Fund. So having a centralized mechanism, so financially able to procure on behalf of affected countries would be critical. I think the second thing is it's going to be very important that for the business sector, for manufacturers of antivirals, that we have clarity around what the need is and where the need is and who are making the decisions.
Public health agencies have issued travel advisories, while some countries have banned travel from the worst affected areas. As a result, the travel sector is taking a huge hit. Travel bookings are down 45% and many flights have been canceled. A ripple effect is racing through the service sector. Governments that rely on travel and tourism as a large part of their economies are being hit particularly hard.
How should national leaders, businesses, and international organizations balance the risk of worsening disease that would be caused by the continued movement of people around the world against the risks of profound economic consequence of travel and trade bans?
What is essential, what is non-essential travel, we have to clarify this. Otherwise, if we go down to 20% bookings over a long period, the company will run down. That's a fact.
We are not out of money yet, but the fact is we are trending in a dangerous direction and something needs to change.
So the policy question for this board now is, how should financial resources be prioritized? Are there nodes that we cannot allow to fail? What is your sense of priorities? We don't have money to pay for all of these urgent problems.
So at the moment, we want the fund, right? You need the money. So where's the money? So government kind of supplies some money. A lot of, private sectors, some are sitting here, you have some money. But now you need a really coordinated, centralized efforts.
Hotels will be experiencing, crippling losses doing that. And we know that the hotel business in itself makes up 5% of the GDP.
Countries are reacting in different ways as to how best to manage the overwhelming amounts of dis and misinformation circulating over the internet. In some cases, limited internet shutdowns are being implemented to quell panic.
How much control of information should there be, and by whom? And how can false information be effectively challenged? And what if that false information is coming from companies or from governments?
I think it's very important that we make sure that there is concise communication with all healthcare facilities where these patients are being treated so that there isn't mass panic.
We're at a moment where the social media platforms have to step forward and recognize the moment to assert that they're a technology platform and not a broadcaster is over. They, in fact, have to be a participant in broadcasting accurate information and partnering with the scientific and health communities to counterweight, if not flood the zone of accurate information, because to put the genie back in the bottle of the misinformation and disinformation is nigh impossible.
One thing we haven't spoken about, and I'm wondering whether it's time to talk about this, is a step up from the part of the governments on enforcement actions against fake news.
I personally do not believe that trying to shut things down in terms of information is either practical or desirable. And we do have, I think, a couple of strategies that are available to us, one of which is the flood strategy, second of which is relying and informing and equipping trusted sources of information with the facts so they can then pass that on. But we also need to actually think about a technological answer to this.
The outcome of the CAPS pandemic in Event 201 was catastrophic. The global economy was in a free fall. The GDP down 11%. Stock markets around the world plummeted between 20 and 40% and headed into a downward cycle of fear and low expectation. Businesses were not borrowing, banks were not lending. Everyone was just hoping to hunker down and weather the storm. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years, perhaps a decade. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer.
This is not about retribution. This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here. We're in a live exercise here to get this right.
When I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CI director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
Aubrey.
Just to say on testing, I think it's really important that we always bear this in mind. When you get your test result, it comes back, it says COVID not detected. It doesn't say negative, it doesn't say you're free, it doesn't say you don't have COVID. Because a negative test doesn't tell you that you're COVID free. And one of the concerns that we often have is that when people get a test and it comes back COVID not detected, negative, that they then think this is a license to be in contact with lots of other people. It's false reassurance, and that's a concern that we have. So don't assume that a negative test means you don't have COVID, because that's not what it means. It means COVID isn't detected. There are a lot of false negatives, unfortunately.
How do they misuse PCR to estimate all these supposed free viral RNAs that may or may not be there?
It allows you to take a very minuscule amount of anything and make it measurable, and then talk about it in meetings and stuff like it is important. If they could find this virus in you at all, and with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else. It's just a process that's used to make a whole lot of something out of something. That's what
also,
it is. But it's not. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything like that.
What is it? What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people who pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem, actually, with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, if Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it, because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina, ask Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
Tell us about the value of wearing face masks. You see face masks around the place. Is there any point to that?
If a healthcare professional hasn't advised you to wear a face mask, it's usually quite a bad idea. People tend to leave them on. They contaminate the face mask and then wipe it over something. So it's really not a good idea.
In terms of wearing a mask, our advice is clear that wearing a mask if you don't have an infection really reduces the risk. Almost none, not at all. So we do not advise that.
There is no evidence that general wearing of face masks by the public who are well affects the spread of the disease in our society. But in terms of the hard evidence and what the UK government recommends, we do not recommend face masks for general wearing by the public.
The evidence on face masks has always been quite variable, quite weak, quite difficult to know exactly, and there's no real trials on it.
When the evidence around the use of masks by the general public, especially outdoors, is extremely weak.
The recommendation from SAGE is completely clear, which is that there is weak evidence of a small effect in which a face mask can prevent a source of infection going from somebody who is infected to the people around them.
Yes.
There was a statement by the World Health Organization which was definitely against the wearing of muzzles. Now, a few weeks ago, the World Health Organization did a reverse ferret and changed its mind. And Deborah Cohen, of the medical correspondent Newsnight on the BBC, had an amazing scoop the other day. She actually discovered, and she put it to the WHO, that her contacts inside the World Health Organization had told her that the position of the WHO on muzzles had been changed because of political pressure, not because of medical reasons.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people are waking up. And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity. Every single one of you have a smirk behind that little mask, but every single one of you are going to get punished by God. You cannot escape God. I'm going to say that again. You cannot escape God, not even with the mask or 6 feet. Okay? 6 feet, like I said before, is military protocol. You're trying to get the people to train them so when the cameras, the 5G comes out, what? They're gonna scan everybody. We got to get scanned. We got to get temperatured. The kids have to go to school with masks. Are you insane? Are you crazy? I think all of you should be in a psych ward right the heck now, because none of you know what the hell you are all talking about. This is insane. And then you want to open this meeting with a prayer to God. Are you praying to the devil? Because God is not listening to that prayer, because all of you are practicing the devil's laws. What happened to Bill Gates? Why is he not in jail? Why is Hillary Clinton not in jail? Why are all of these pedophiles that are demanding you all to listen to their rules? Why are they not in jail? Oh, is it because you're part of them? Are you part of the deep state? Your time has expired. The deep state is going down. And if any of you are in the deep state, you're going down with it.
Well, here's some criminal who I guess he doesn't notice. Everyone can see him. Does he think like there's a wall there? He comes up, fiddles with his mask, tries to find it, puts it on, walks out, and takes it off in front of the cameras. Just the usual political theater.
So Wendy, I'm going to take my mask off when I speak.
I will as well. I'm waiting so that we can do a little political theater.
Okay.
So that it's on camera.
They say they're brave. This is their way of getting out. This is their freedom from Illinois, telling us to go home. That's the situation here. There doesn't seem to be any social distancing and not a lot of care when it comes to the coronavirus. But you can see, here, just around. Nobody's wearing them. Nobody's, there you go, including the cameraman. Yeah. Katie.
Captain Cruz not wearing it.
Nobody's wearing them.
Nobody, including the cameraman.
There you go.
There you go.
Wearing a mask in Louisiana isn't just important, it is currently required for anyone 2 years old and up.
My son just passed out in school for wearing a fucking mask.
This morning, as COVID cases mount across the country, the mask debate is intensifying.
People are very passionate on both sides of the great mask debate.
The partisan mask debate is heating up.
Mask debate's growing.
The president is trying to have us cover the mask debate.
CVS, Target, and Walgreens are getting in on the mask debate.
The mask debate now taking center stage at local restaurants.
It's 9 minutes after 6 now, and there's new video of a raging mask debate. The mask debate in Georgia is getting ugly.
The great mask debate in West Virginia might soon be coming to an end.
This mask debate is far from over.
How many mask debates have you gotten into? Love to hear it.
The mask debate was taken to a whole nother level.
Bishop David Zubik tells Pittsburgh's Action News 4 he found himself in the middle of a mask debate.
And we'll dive deeper into this pet store mask debate.
So we're going to begin with this thing we're calling the great mask debate.
Let's talk for a second about this great mask debate. Some say wearing a mask will help us flatten the curve. Others disagree. The much-lauded New England Journal of Medicine stated on May 21st, 2020, that they know, not think, not believe, not surmise, they know that, quote, wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. They even admit that, quote, in many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. These people know reflexive actions aren't actions based on rationality. Reflexive actions are thoughtless actions that rational people discourage. Even the mask manufacturer for the popular surgical mask that a lot of people like to wear states under this big warning, quote, this product is an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide any protections against the virus that shall remain unnamed and other viruses or contaminants. It further states that wearing an ear loop mask does not reduce the risk of contracting any disease or infection, and yet we're told to wear them. In many places, we're mandated to wear them. Even the nation's most popular doctor actually instructed us against wearing masks not too long ago.
When you see people and look at the films in China and South Korea, whatever, everybody's wearing a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
That clip right there may well go down as Dr. Fauci's most honest moment in his career. And why is that, Dr. Fauci? Why are you saying that people should not be wearing masks?
When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet. But it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
So just like the mask box says, and just like the New England Journal of Medicine testifies, wearing one of these babies merely offers the wearer a false sense of security with the added benefit of getting some schmutz hanging around and growing inside that moist atmosphere that people are being forced to put over their faces now. Oh, speaking of forcing people to wear a mask, check out what Dr. Right now in the United States, people shouldn't be walking around wearing masks, has to say these days.
Be as forceful as possible in getting your citizenry to wear masks.
Be as forceful as possible in getting your citizenry to wear masks. Guys, think about it. As forceful as possible? Wow. It's possible to exert a lot of force when you're trying to get people to do something against their will. Just ask these guys. So Dr. Fauci, a medical doctor who has no doubt taken the Hippocratic oath to do no harm, is advocating for the initiation of unjust force and violence on individuals in order to get them to bow to the will of the state. Whereas previously he said you shouldn't be walking around with these things.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Could it be that those who force you to wear masks today will be the very ones to force you to take the vax in the future?
The door is closed. If we have to ask you more than once to cover your nose, mouth, put your mask on, we are not going to be rude. We are not going to be nasty. We are going to simply take your seat number and your name, and when we get where we're going, you will either be arrested, fined, but you will also be placed on the no-fly list, meaning you will not be able to fly any airline for the rest of your life. We are government officials. This is government property. If you choose to act out of content or character on this aircraft, you will be arrested and face 20 years imprisonment, and you will also receive a $250,000 fine.
Doesn't have anything to do with Democrats, Republicans, or independents. It has to do with a simple proposition. Every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum. Every governor should mandate mandatory mask wearing.
The need for this mandatory mask wearing will also be about what Joe has articulated and what a Biden-Harris administration will do in terms of creating a pandemic testing board to get tens of millions of testing kits where needed, to build a public health jobs corps, hiring at least 100,000 Americans to lead us through contact tracing as soon as we take office, and to chart a clear path forward for a safe and effective vaccine.
It's just a mask, you guys. Don't be a jerk. It's for the greater good. It's just a vaccine, you guys. Don't be a jerk. It's for the greater good. In 4 months, the U.S. was transformed into an obedient socialist country. Government dictated what events are acceptable to attend. Violent protests that instill fear are okay. But church services, family funerals, and patriotic celebrations are dangerous. And you bought it without a fight. Standing in a graduation line is a safety hazard. Small businesses were forced to close, but crowds to support the corporate money machine at Walmart, Lowe's, and Home Depot are okay. Come on! It's just a mask. And safety precautions. How about a little hush money? Here's $2,400 that we stole out of your paycheck in the first place. Enjoy. Buy something with it from a big corporation. Cash is dirty. We can't give change. There's a coin shortage. Use your card. In 4 months, they convince you to use a traceable card for everything. In less than 4 months, government closed public schools, then restructured education under the guise of public safety. In less than 4 months, our government demonstrated how easily people assimilate to guidelines that have no scientific premise whatsoever when you are fearful. In less than 4 months, our government successfully instilled fear in a majority of the population in America that allows them to control every aspect of your life, including what you eat, where you go, who you see, and your toilet paper. And the most dangerous and terrifying part, people are not afraid of the government who removed their freedom. They're afraid of their neighbors, family, and friends. And they hate those that won't comply. It's absolutely terrifying to me that so many people don't question authority. They are willing to surrender their critical thinking skills and independence. They just gave up without thinking, without a fight. Do you know what's coming next? It's just a vaccine. Come on, it's for the greater good. Wait until you're told that you can't enter any store or business without without proof of the COVID-19 vaccine. Wait until you can't go to public events or get on a plane without proof of receiving the vaccine. Don't think it's possible? Well, you already allowed the government to say when you can go outside, where you're allowed to go, and accepted a new unproven digital education for your kids in the last 100 days. You followed blindly because you were told to do so. You're kidding yourself. The mass behavior won't be repeated with a vaccine or whatever the next step is.
Hi. Yep. It's okay. Hey, I love you. I wish. I know, Mama. It's sickening. I love you. I wish I can change it all.
Well, right. Well, can I tell you, for the record, that her colour is very poor. You know, she's quite blue around the lips, and her breathing is quite fast, and that's, to me, that is a cause for concern.
Well, like I say, we've not had any concerns with the...
Well, I know, but you never do have concerns for her. Do you know, with respect, you don't. You know, I understand you're doing your best, but you know, I can see that my mother is not well just by looking at her through the window.
Well, all I can suggest is that you ring up on Monday morning.
Well, what do you mean I ring up on Monday morning? That's 2 whole days away.
Well, like I say, I'm not the manager. So
you're not the manager, but I mean, hang on a minute, just a minute before you go. I am asking you. I want this doctor. Hang on a minute. Don't take her away. Hey! Don't take her away! Don't take her away! Don't take her away! You bastards! You absolute bastards!
So let's just make this very clear. My nan, my 97-year-old nan here, who we have taken from the care home because we haven't seen her for 9 months, is now being taken back by force to her care home. My mother has been arrested. My mother is in the back of the car here. She is a nurse. She is a fully qualified nurse who is wishing to care for her own mother. And here we have an incredible use of police time to take my 97-year-old grandmother back into a care home where she is deteriorating, where we haven't been able to see her for 9 months. Nan, I love you, and we are going to fight for you. Yeah, because you know why we're not going to stop filming this? Because everyone needs to see how ridiculous the situation is.
They will be called in a kill switch vaccination program. And the way it will work is likely something like this. First, there will be a planned outbreak, a release of an engineered bioweapon. We saw a practice run for this with the measles outbreak at Disney World a few years ago, which was used to push SB 277, the vaccine mandate in California. Now this will be done on a global scale. An engineered bioweapon will be released. There will be calls for massive government funding of the vaccine industry to come up with a vaccine. And miraculously, they will have a vaccine developed in record time. Everyone will be required to line up and take this vaccine shot, except the shot itself will be formulated to kill people, the kill switch for humanity. It's a hard kill. Laws will be passed demanding that everyone line up to be injected. People who are not vaccinated will be disallowed from participating in public transportation. You won't be allowed to board an airplane. You will be denied a bank account or banking services. And in this injection, they will, of course, feed more bioengineered weapons. There will be viral strains in there with long latency that are programmed to activate perhaps months later. Once the payload begins to express itself, you will start to see people dying, all in the streets, across all the cities around the world. Once that begins, the media will push a second round of vaccines. That second round of vaccines will be a shorter duration kill switch that will kill people within weeks, not months, perhaps days in certain cases. If you line up to be injected, you will find yourself very likely dead before very long. And this is the whole point. Vaccines have become weaponized. They are a kill switch vector for humanity. Remember, the globalists don't want humans to be around, at least not most of us.
People have been writing to me for months, terrified that a vaccine will be compulsory. And I've responded by saying, don't be so absolutely ridiculous. It could never possibly happen. We're a conservative government, after all. And now we discover that a vaccination may be a passport to the acquisition of your civil liberties, and without which you will have all sorts of things that you would be able to do denied to you. Can I say that that would be absolutely disproportionate to a virus with a mortality rate of verging on 1%. It would equally be a terrible precedent to set for other vaccines and medicines.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread a disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you?
Yeah.
No right not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
If the vaccination is designed to prevent the spreading disease. If the vaccination is only to prevent a disease that you will get, for example, if there's a disease that will kill you, you have the right to refuse that, but you have no right to refuse to be vaccinated against a contagious disease. Public health, the police power of the Constitution, gives the state the power to compel that, and there are cases in the United States Supreme Court.
And Doctor, on the issue of the vaccine, tonight, Anthony Fauci on this network actually said that 75% of Americans are going to have to get vaccinated to reach what they call herd immunity. Do you buy that?
What utter nonsense. I know that Dr. Fauci is a renowned
immunologist,
medical scientist and immunologist, but what he says has to be wrong. And this is also what we have taken great lengths to explain in the book. And why, someone who says this has not the slightest inkling of the basics of immunology. And this is very, very surprising for someone of Dr. Fauci's standing. And I would dare to defy him anywhere in the world, at any time. But I cannot do this in 2 minutes.
Well, so you believe that the COVID vaccine is not necessary?
I think it's downright dangerous. And I warn you If you go along these lines, you are going to go to your doom.
Today, I want to update you on the next stage of this momentous medical initiative. It's called Operation Warp Speed. That means big and it means fast. A massive scientific, industrial, and logistical endeavor unlike anything our country has seen since the Manhattan Project. You really could say that nobody's seen anything like we're doing, whether it's ventilators or testing. Nobody's seen anything like we're doing now within our country since the Second World War. Why should we be testing it in a test tube for a year and a half when we have thousands of people that are very sick? The vaccine does have to be tested for a long period of time because you can't give thousands, millions of people a vaccine, and it turns out to be dangerous. Get the vaccine into the hands of American people. We're fully mobilizing the awesome power of American industry and also our military. This is the largest, fastest, and most advanced vaccine distribution effort in American history, by far. We're on track to deliver and distribute the vaccine in a very, very safe and effective manner. We think we can start sometime in October. So as soon as it is announced, we'll be able to start. That'll be from mid-October on. Maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll be all set. So as soon as it's given the go-ahead, they're doing trials, as you know, and as soon as it's given the go-ahead, we will get it out, defeat the virus.
I would like to see the overwhelming majority of the country vaccinated before we get to the end of the second quarter.
Going to use celebrities to try to get people to have a vaccine because people don't trust politicians?
Well, I think it's certainly the case that people sometimes take with a pinch of salt some of the things that politicians of any party say, which is why I think it's important that we're led by the science and we're led by the authoritative evidence that vaccines work.
I say this vaccine is really the key. This is the golden key. It depends on the state of the nature of the vaccine, when it comes out, and how it's being distributed. That would depend on. But I would think that we should be talking about, depending on the continuation of the spread of the virus, we should be thinking about making it mandatory.
How could you enforce that?
Well, you couldn't. That's the problem. Just like you can't enforce measles. You can't come to school unless you have a measles shot. You can't. But you can't say everyone has to do this. But you would, just like you can't mandate a mask. But you can say, you can go to every governor and get them all in a room, all 50 of them as president, and say, ask people to wear the mask. Everybody knows.
Montsev Slaoui now, he's Operation Warp Speed's chief science advisor, which means basically the big man in charge of everything. One question, everybody has it. When is normal again?
Well, we hope that we would have vaccinated 70 or 80% of the U.S. population by May or June of 2021. So I would hope that summer should be substantially back to normal.
We need people to take it. We don't know if this vaccine will prevent transmission or any of them. We have to wait for the science to tell us. Everyone wants social distancing to come to an end. We're fed up with it. Nobody wants lockdowns and to see the damage they do. But if you want that dream to come true as quickly as it can come true, then you have to take the vaccine when it's offered to you. Low uptake will almost certainly make restrictions last longer.
But will you, as the Chief Medical Officer of Health, in any way make some sort of mandatory vaccination recommendation?
We can't force someone to take a vaccine. That's clear. And because we want to make sure that people say they only would want it. And we want to make sure we have all the information they need, as well as all the safety information, etc. What we can do is to say sometimes for access or ease in getting into certain settings, if you don't have vaccination, then you're not allowed into that setting without other protection and promote materials. So what may be mandatory is proof of immunization or vaccination with a proper product in order to have latitude and freedom to move around in certain, like to access into long-term care facilities or the hospital, different things, without wearing other types of form of personal protective equipment, etc. Same as with school attendance. It may be much like our other vaccines. We haven't gone there yet, but we would make it mandatory for access in, and sometimes being excluded if there's a risk or a hazard going on. So it's more of facility of movement and around that, not that someone is going to be forced to take it against their will.
They haven't yet been able to show whether it prevents infection. So even if somebody gets vaccinated, they may have an asymptomatic infection. So they could still be infectious to others. We're still going to learn, and it may be that is not the case, but currently we don't have that evidence. So even when somebody's vaccinated, they need to protect themselves and others from spreading the infection. I don't know why I bring all these papers. I never look at them.
When you're giving numbers, I do. I go, Sorry, I said that. Did you really say that?
I just say whatever they write down for me.
That's why you're guessing.
Now, today, healthcare workers in Chicago received the COVID vaccine, and about 10 minutes later, a nurse who received the shot passed out on TV.
When you woke up this morning, did you know you were going to be receiving the vaccine?
I did, yes. Okay. So, all of my staff, we are excited to get the vaccine. We are in the COVID unit, so therefore, my team will be getting first chances to get the vaccine. And I know that it's really, I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy. Oh, I'm sorry.
You okay?
Give it to me.
Is there something to worry about with medicines? That is, might some of them have side effects? Do we need safety testing? And we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. Travel to Africa, meet with scientists. We see a lot of things that are going very well. Things like reducing childhood death, and improving the nutrition.
Every summer, I try to do a little extra reading. There's a few books I've read recently that you might enjoy. How to Lie with Statistics.
This mother, Diane Downs, shot her kids at close range, drove them to the hospital while they bled all over the car, claimed a scraggy-haired stranger did it. And you'll see when you see the video, she can't even pretend to be an agonizing mother. What you want to look for here is an incredible discrepancy between horrific events that she describes and her very, very cool demeanor. And if you look closely, you'll see duping delight throughout this video.
But at night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
The economy is not going to be anything like it was. It's going to take a long time to recover. It's going to be, people are going to be surprised at how slow and how fitful this is.
Fire, war, earthquakes, and so government, Dr. Fauci's doing a very good job of saying the numbers are what count here. If we have, 1 in 10,000 side effects, that's, way more, 700,000 people who will suffer from that. Hopefully this will renew our sense that we're kind of in this together, in our communities and our country. And, we're all in this together. We've got to get rid of coronavirus from the entire world. That's a global problem. And, so I'm glad, that people are coming together. It won't go to zero, but it will shrink. Global GDP is going to take, probably the biggest hit ever, and how hard it's going to be to get back to the normal life that we had before. For the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Department, or as they call it, the Deep State Department, if you don't mind. I'd like to have him go back and do his job. So does anybody have any question?
I just want to be clear in terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. So the case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. So that means that if you were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death. I hope that's helpful.
This is one of the most important videos I've made, and one of the hardest. Frankly, it's been a very difficult decision to make whether I even wanted to do it. Could have a patient suffering from other medical problems, wheelchair bound, severe stroke within the preceding year or two, no COVID-19 test ever done or ordered, and when that patient dies of pneumonia, it's a COVID-19 death.
Something else is going on here. This is not about science, and it's not even about COVID. When they use the word safe, if you listen to the word safe, that's about controlling you. So when I talk to all my ER doctors who work in a hospital, no stake in the game, same opinion. And they're screaming for 30,000 ventilators that they didn't use, right? They're screaming for a lot of things. 30,000, they used 5. Entire companies, GM, were forced to switch their production lines. For what?
Is this as infectious as they're telling us it is? Because if it was as infectious as they're telling us it is, these would all be in use and everybody would be dying, and we're not seeing that. Okay? This is unbelievable. Every bit of this has been created.
What's this flag say here? It's definitely not. Oh, they're staging. I'm glad I got this. A stage media op. Look at that. Staged on Facebook Live. Don't publish it. They just staged one of those medical pictures with the guy in his scrubs. I got it on camera. You're a fake. You're a fake. You see that, you guys?
According to investigators, and you can hear the interviews, CBS segment featuring a Michigan healthcare facility, Grand Rapids, appeared to stage long lines at a coronavirus testing site. They wanted it to be worse than it really is. Take a look.
The CBS News Corporation, national, staged a fake event. They faked the news. They faked the reality and broadcasted that to all of their audience last Friday on CBS This Morning.
They were coming. We had no clue that we were going to have to, do face patients.
Did she tell you guys, hey, you're not actually getting tested?
Yeah, she did. Well, just to make it more easy for the news.
So, Dr. Drew, are we overreacting?
Yes.
I'm hearing this from doctors left and right.
Yes, and we are not overreacting. The press is overreacting, and it makes me furious. The press should not be reporting medical stories as though they know how to report it. If we have a pandemic, I won't know how to tell that we're actually having a pandemic because everything is an emergency. The press needs to shut up because you're more likely to die of influenza right now. People died on the streets of Los Angeles this morning from homelessness. If that were coronavirus, people would freak the hell out. Oh, a new infection. This is the one. It's going to get us. No, it's not.
Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, told the Conservative Political Action Conference that the coronavirus was the hoax of the day. Do you agree with Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mulvaney, that the coronavirus is the hoax of the day?
The State Department is doing everything it can to protect American citizens around the world.
Do you believe coronavirus is the
I'm not
hoax
going
of
to
the
comment
day?
on what
Just a yes or
others
no.
say.
I'm just asking you, do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
I'm just telling you what the Secretary of State's doing.
Do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
We're working to keep people safe.
You can't even answer that question.
Yeah,
it's it's not even a gotcha question. You believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
It's a gotcha moment. It's not useful.
Is the coronavirus a hoax? Can you just answer that question?
We're taking it seriously. This is
are you
serious.
At 12:15 today? Are you in fact yourself speaking at CPAC? At 12:15 today, are you speaking?
Yes, I am. I'm planning.
All right. So you can only give 2 hours to this bipartisan group of members of Congress, and instead of answering questions on life and death issues from a bipartisan group of America's representatives, you're going to go talk to a special interest group.
Yes.
You, sir, represent all Americans, not a special interest group. It is shameful. You can't even answer basic questions. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired.
They're spreading blatant lies that are going to kill people. Blatant lies are going to kill people, not to mention kill our economy. You guys, I'm just telling you, I'm not taking it anymore. My gloves are off. I've been polite. I've been politically correct. I've been nice about it, but I'm not taking this shit anymore, and you shouldn't either. The truth is going to come out. The truth will set you free if you'll let it, but you got to open your eyes.
The police would you're in your communal area, my building, and you're lying to us, spreading fear, telling us that this man died, and he's just been down there and saw that he is not dead. He has just been taken to the hospital by the police. He spoke to both the police and the homeless man. That man was a bit drunk. He asked him if he was okay, and he was fine. This was 5 to 10 minutes ago, and now you're coming up here spreading lies and fear and telling me this man is dead, and he is not dead. This man is not dead. Take them letters, take them somewhere else, because that man is not dead. Not dead. Not dead. Not dead.
You and I have both been in actual war zones. The descriptions you give as to what you have seen inside these hospitals, reminiscent to me of actual war zones.
It's funny you say that, because all along in this pandemic, that is what I have been thinking about, whether it's Iraq or Afghanistan, in many, many ways, not just the hospitals, but now that I've been to one, certainly the hospitals.
Because there's so much focus on coronavirus, there's a lot of kids around the world who may die of things that are very treatable, but because medical systems are overwhelmed, it's going to impact children.
Journalists should be going inside of the emergency rooms and the ICUs to find out what the hell is really going on in there. That's what needs to be done, because right now there are people all over the world going to hospitals and ERs and ICUs, and they're not seeing the craziness that's being reported.
We should be looking into it and questioning exactly what it is, not just believing what the media tells you it is. They call this a pandemic, but the numbers don't bear out the definition. There are over 300 million in the U.S. The numbers being discussed are small in comparison. It would seem to me that something is very wrong about all of this. It just feels so wrong.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
There's a movement going on right now where people are filming their hospitals, and they're seeing that the hospitals do not quite match in busyness that the mainstream media has said they are. War zones, I believe, is what they put it.
You and I have both been in actual war zones. The descriptions you give as to what you have seen inside these hospitals, reminiscent to me of actual war zones.
The hospitals have been looking quite dead, and this is mighty suspicious for me. You would think during a pandemic there would be loads and loads of people. They want you to assume that it's a war zone inside, that it's just so chaotic and that there is a pandemic inside. But if you were to take the evidence you're looking at here, it would make it look like that things aren't as severe as they say. Why in the world during a pandemic would a hospital be so dead? The mainstream media would have you believe it's overflowing with patients. They need more respirators, need more masks.
I can tell you now, when I was working at the height of the pandemic, I had no work for 3 weeks because there was no patients, okay? We have a particular COVID ward. None of the wards were overflowing with COVID patients, and they're not now. The mainstream media have filled you with fear. It really is time to face some facts. On March the 19th, if you go on the government website, it's still there now. The coronavirus was classed as a non-contagious disease. It's there now. It's a quick Google search, guys. If you think this lockdown is right and is going to do any difference, you're completely wrong. Our economy is going to crash. Small businesses, people are going to starve. You think it's going to be a month? We were flattening the curve back in April, and this was when the disease was supposedly dying out. And do lots of you know that the flu and COVID cases are now combined as the same thing, okay? If you died with COVID within 28 days, that goes on your death certificate. You might all realise as well that the flu numbers, they've gone right down. Where have they gone? So those people with your small businesses, do yourself a favour and stay open. You do not consent. Let them take you to court because they can't do anything.
Mr. Chairman, this is Dr. Hodkinson. I'm a medical specialist in pathology, which includes virology. I trained at Cambridge University in the UK. I'm the ex-president of the pathology section of the Medical Association. I was previously an assistant professor in the Faculty of Medicine doing a lot of teaching. I was the chairman of the Royal College of Physicians of Canada Examination Committee in Pathology in Ottawa. But more to the point, I'm currently the chairman of a biotechnology company in North Carolina selling a COVID-19 test. And you might say I know a little bit about all of this. The bottom line is simply this. There is utterly unfounded public hysteria driven by the media and politicians. It's outrageous. This is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on an unsuspecting public. I'm in the business of testing for COVID. I do want to emphasize that positive test results do not, underlined in neon, mean a clinical infection. It's simply driving public hysteria, and all testing should stop. Using the province's own statistics, the risk of death under 65 in this province is 1 in 300,000. 1 in 300,000. You've got to get a grip on this. The scale of the response that you're undertaking, with no evidence for it, is utterly ridiculous.
These lockdowns are not based in science. They never have been. Study after study shows that they yield little, if any, benefits, but they impose extreme costs on the small businesses suffering under them. We've all seen the heartbreaking video of Angela Marsden, the owner of Pineapple Hill Saloon and Grill in Los Angeles. Everyone should have to watch that testimony as Democrats shut down her outdoor dining while a Hollywood studio sets up shop right next door. She represents millions of Americans suffering who have taken note of the hypocrisy of these lockdowns, of the double standards, as big businesses can operate freely while small businesses are shamed into submission and told wrongly that they are the ones who must sacrifice to slow the spread, that the demise of the business they spent their whole lives building is the price to pay because if it just saves one life. But this is unscientific nonsense, and we all know it. Study after study shows outdoor dining is safe, that outbreaks are not occurring because of our small businesses, our gyms, our restaurants, our salons. And yet these small businesses are in the crosshairs of cowardly politicians across the country. This madness has to stop. This arbitrary application of executive orders is deeply, deeply unconstitutional. Justice Gorsuch recently stated, "There is no world in which the Constitution tolerates color-coded executive edicts that reopen liquor stores and bike shops, but shutter churches, synagogues, and mosques." Americans have had enough.
My name is Dr. Tapper. I am in private practice in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't wear a mask. I see over 200 patients a week. Why haven't I contracted this so-called disease? Americans make up 5% of the world population, but yet we take in 65 to 70% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs. We are one of 2 countries that allows pharmaceutical advertisements on the television. But yet 80% of Americans are suffering with a chronic disease associated with poor lifestyle choices. 700,000 people will die of heart disease this year alone.
Doctor, please bring yourself in order.
600,000 people will die of cancer. 300,000 people will die of obesity this year. When is enough enough? If this is truly about health, then mandate healthy living, exercise, good food choices, chiropractic, outlaw tobacco and cigarettes, processed sugars. I believe it was Thomas Jefferson who stated, if people let the government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in a sorry state as those souls who live under tyranny. You see, God made your body self-healing, self-regulating. If you give the body what it needs, it can be healthy. It is like the wilted plant that sits under the sun. An allopathic model to that is to shield the sun, to protect that plant against the sun, cut off its leaves, medicate or vaccinate that plant. But an epigenetic approach, a wellness approach, is to give that plant water, and it can be well. You see, your body is no different. We must eat well, move well, think well, and we can be well. In other words, your level of health is the genetic expression of your lifestyle choices. And I know full well that your body's ability to heal itself, to overcome disease and circumstances like corona, is far greater than anyone has ever permitted you to believe. Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, stated, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, a time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privileges to others. That time is now. These masks have absolutely nothing to do with health, but everything to do with the complying with a false flag, tyrannical agenda. If we sacrifice our precious freedoms for temporary security, we will lose both. If you can't comprehend that statement, if you are blind to this agenda, then I am sorry. You have the eyesight of an eagle, but the vision of a clam.
Zapata. I wasn't going to speak. I was asked to speak here. Sheriff, good to see you. I'm telling you guys, I'm pretty appalled at what's going on. At first we sat as concerned citizens, and we all want to figure out how to best navigate our way through this whole COVID thing, And as we realized that it's not quite as dangerous as we thought it'd be, I was absolutely appalled at the cowardice, And as you're sitting there with your masks on, I don't blame you for wearing masks, because I'd be hiding my face too if I was you for what you're doing. It's absolutely horrendous what you're doing to these people. I'm a business owner, and I'm telling you, our families are starving. You guys can sit here with your jobs, you can sit here and you're going to get paid, you can fall asleep in your chair like that gentleman's doing behind his mask right there, okay? And I'm telling you right now, that right now we're being peaceful. And you better be happy that we're good citizens, that we're peaceful citizens. But it's not going to be peaceful much longer, okay? And this isn't a threat. I'm not a criminal. I've never been a criminal. But I'm telling you that good citizens are going to turn into real concerned and revolutionary citizens real soon. And nobody else is going to say that. I'm probably the only person that has the balls to say what I'm saying right now. That we're building, we're organizing, and we'll work with law enforcement or without law enforcement. But you won't stop us when time comes, because our families are starving. And if you don't hear the seriousness of my voice, I hope you open your ears and you absolutely listen to what I'm saying. Because this is a warning for what's coming. It's not going to be peaceful much longer. It's not going to be rah-rah. It's not going to be speeches. It's not going to be gathered outside saying a Pledge of Allegiance. It's not going to be waving flags. It's going to be real. When you've seen the things that I've seen, I went to war for this country. I've seen the ugliest, dirtiest part of humanity. I've been in combat, and I never want to go back again. But I'm telling you what, I will to save this country. If it has to be against our own citizens, it will happen. And there's a million people like me, and you won't stop us. Open the county. Let our citizens do what they need to do. Let owners of businesses do what they need to do to feed their families. Take the masks off. Quit masking and muzzling your children. The psychological damage you're doing to them is horrible. I've had 6 friends kill themselves since it's happened. Veterans who lost their jobs. How do you feel about being complicit in perpetuating that? The greatest hoax ever perpetuated on the American people, and you're part of it by wearing your mask.
And do you realise that you would have no clue about corona if your television hadn't told you? Or any mainstream media? You wouldn't really have a clue, would you? You wouldn't know there was a pandemic. And if there was a pandemic, you wouldn't even need them to tell you. It would be so obvious. A deadly pandemic would be obvious. You wouldn't need anyone to convince you, because you'd see it with your own eyes.
What we're actually seeing is the systematic implementation of the fall of the republic and the rise of the corporation. Every major event is a step in the ladder to achieve that end. COVID is just another rung in the ladder, which is why there's a deliberate mixing of all the wordplay. Right? I mean, we should stop calling it, quarantine. That's a term designated for people that are verified sick. This is a house arrest mandated by the state. We should stop calling it, social distancing. There's nothing social about forced isolation. We should stop saying safer at home when millions of Americans don't have basic necessities adequate to fit their needs. It assumes that everybody's home is equally as safe as the people that are making the statements. We should stop saying, this is for the greater good, right? When you close the economy, killing millions of businesses that families have worked generations to establish, that's anything but good. We should stop saying this is the new normal. That's just blatant mind control drivel. There's nothing normal about forced isolation, treating your neighbor like they have the plague, breathing your own bodily waste, wearing masks, living in constant fear of contamination. That's normal. I mean, after all, if the virus is so deadly, why hasn't it wiped out the homeless who don't social distance, wash themselves regularly, let alone, live in or have access to a sterile environment? Last year, 1.5 million people died of tuberculosis. Why were you not wearing a mask during the tuberculosis pandemic? You were endangering, public health and safety along with billions of other people around the globe. So why didn't you wear a mask? I'll tell you why. Because the mainstream media didn't tell you to wear a mask. Right? And so because though 1.5 million people died from tuberculosis, there was no tuberculosis pandemic, any more than there's a coronavirus pandemic. What you're really participating in is a beta test for AI systems and facial recognition. See, these cameras work best when people are, distance apart. Now they're actually testing through machine learning how to recognize, a face that's partially covered. It's also a way to easily determine who's compliant and who's not. Who does the propaganda work on and who it doesn't? Now get this, there's some ironies that are here, right? A society that kills millions of babies a year for convenience has shut itself down to prevent adults from dying. People that on the one hand slaughter babies in the womb by the millions are now preaching to the masses about the sanctity of human life. It's double speak, double talk. It's the two doctrine policy, one for the initiated, one for the uninitiated, one for the inner circle, another for the masses. It's like saying, if I violate the stay-at-home order, I can be arrested, but you're letting convicted criminals out of prison so they don't get coronavirus. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. If there's a real pandemic, does it require, faulty virus models, rigged test results, 81% false positives, inaccurate news reporting, staged hospital overruns, manipulated death certificates? Nope. When the government shuts down millions of small businesses but doesn't lay off any government employees, it's not about the health. When the state bans dentists from practicing but deems it necessary for abortion clinics to stay open, it's not about your health. When the state prevents you from buying seeds for your garden but allows you to purchase lottery tickets, it's not about your health. An institution that has the ability to destroy all of Earth through alleged nuclear warfare should not regulate personal self-defense. An institution that's caught trafficking drugs shouldn't be able to regulate plants. An institution that's racked up $23 trillion prior to coronavirus in debt shouldn't be allowed to manage the retirement fund. An institution that was caught spreading STDs should not be allowed to run healthcare. If people are really concerned about public health and safety, in general, but they don't care if people eat garbage, drink poison, smoke cancer, and take prescription drugs, but think that toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and masks are going to protect them from the boogeyman coronavirus. This is a special kind of stupid that I can't address here. You should ask yourself a couple basic questions. When did you consent from you creating the government to serve you to you serving the government ruling over you? If you want to know who's in charge, just think about who you can and can't criticize.
In the midst of this corona business where people are supposed to be dying all over the place, as you can see, they're not. It's a lie. It's a hoax. They hope that you just watch them. You don't pay attention to anything else. Just tune into their box and their lies and their evil bullshit, and then they can manipulate you till the cows come home. Do not take the vaccine. The vaccine is what will kill you, and that's what they want to do.
The best way to take control over a people and control them utterly is to take a little of their freedom at a time, to erode rights by 1,000 tiny and almost imperceptible reductions. In this way, the people will not see those rights and freedoms being removed until past the point at which these changes cannot be reversed.
Fear, the currency of control, says I freeze, I obey, I submit. Love says I am free. Love says, cries, freedom! And what love brings is a backbone of steel and the power of no. No, I will not cooperate with our own enslavement, and there are billions of us and a handful of you. When we wake up to that, the game is over. Who are we? Little me? No, no, no. We are the power in everyone. We are the dance of the moon and the sun. We are the truth that will never hide. We are the turning of the tide. Human race, get off your knees. The lion sleeps no more. Stay in your home. No. Wear a mask. No. Let your kids be psychologically dismantled. No. It is time, it is well past the time when we learn the lessons of history. The entirety of human history is one of the few controlling the many, because the many acquiesce to the few. Enough!
You can stick your coronavirus up your arse. You can stick your coronavirus up your arse. You can stick your coronavirus. They're all known and proven liars. Stick your coronavirus up your arse. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 90. Together we are 90. 99%. You can stick your poison vaccines up your arse. You can stick your poison vaccines up your arse. You can stick your poison vaccines, cause they cause all the disease. Stick your poison vaccines up your arse. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 90. Together we are mighty, we are the 99%. You can stick your fracking drilling up your arse. You can stick your TV programs up your arse. You can stick your GMO foods. We ain't gonna go school. Stick the Georgia Guy songs up your arse. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 90, together we are mighty, we are the 99%. Oh, I'd rather be a human than a slave. Oh, I'd rather be a human than a slave. Oh, I'd rather be a human, and don't you know that you can rather be a a human and a slave. Singing we are the 99%. Come on! Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 90. Together we are mighty. We are the 99%. How's it go? You can stick your new world order up your ass. You can stick your new world order up your ass. You can stick your new world order where the sun don't shine but oughta. Stick your new